G'day, Poggers, and welcome to the very first episode of 2026. It is season 7. Can you believe that we have already made it 7 seasons and we're still here? That's more than a lot of really good TV shows, guys.
I think we've done bad TV shows.
And a lot of really bad like Hawaii 5-0 I think is still going, and that started in like the 50s. We could probably match that. And I'll get back to the intro. So I'm here, I'm Atlas, still around. This is Dagon, still around. Wolf, still around. Dan is still around as well. The Chronicler's gone. We're not going to talk about him this year because he's not here. Dang it. Well, this is the last time. Last time. Okay?
Definitely.
But I'm going to mention Chronicler. All right. How have we been doing, guys? We've had, there's been a lot of developments over this off-season. Let's start with Dagon. You've had a pretty eventful last couple of months.
Yeah, it was a nice break away from covering everything, but I got engaged.
Yeah.
Proposed to my now fiance in Hawaii.
Looked very pretty.
Yeah, brought a friend of mine to the island to do the photography, and the photos turned out great.
Was he like hiding in the trees?
Yes.
Oh my god, yeah.
Like I'm sure the conversation was like pretty interesting when you were like, yeah, we're going to Hawaii. I planned out the whole trip, and it's like, okay, why are there 3 tickets?
So the beaches on Hawaii are all free. It's public and free.
Wait, you can pay for beaches?
So
Yes.
the property
The heck?
off the shoreline is not. So we had to go early on the free area and then take photos, but then we put our stuff down on the not free stuff, and then the people that work the place came afterwards and were like, hey, you can't be here except on the shoreline. So we had to take our stuff and put it on the shoreline. It was really
Believe it or not,
a little pet.
Hawaii part of America.
But it was great, and I don't know if we can edit this, but you can see the photos here. We'll place it here.
Yeah.
Hopefully we have the photos that we can put in post right here.
Yeah.
All right.
I really hope it does.
Please.
Wolf, what have you been up to?
My daughter is 6 months old now, so getting through the middle point of the first year, and so she's eating solid food and she's being great. So that's been a majority of what I've been doing during the off season. Trying to play video games every now and then. I'm halfway through Dark Souls 3.
Nice.
Tried to disconnect from the internet a little bit and not be on social media. And that's been nice.
Daniel?
Yeah, I was traveling a lot back to Europe to see family. So I was in Munich briefly doing the Red Bull League of Its Own.
League of Its
Yeah.
Own.
That's right. You got the first glimpse of Haze on T1.
Yeah, and it was fun. It was like everyone was doing off-roll stuff when T1 played against Foster Tones. That was really fun. And then went to France to see my fiance's family, and then went to UK to see my family. It was really busy because we were seeing family and stuff, which was great. But it was a long month, but a lot of great food.
Yeah.
So it was nice, and now back here. It's weird because it's it'd been over a month since we'd been in Korea.
Yeah, that would be really strange.
And then came back and I was like, oh yeah, we're back in our apartment. And then that was 3 days ago that we got back, so it was literally
Oh wow, so you're still getting used to it.
yeah.
But,
Okay.
Max, how are you? How was your off season?
Well, I learned to appreciate sleep. Because I haven't had any for a long time. But Chester is doing really well. My son, who was born the 13th of November. So I got back from Worlds, and it was a week and a half. And then my son arrived. And so that has been all I have been doing until now.
You can see it in his eyes, a little bit more crazy than last time.
Did you see that? That's all I've been doing.
Yeah. But it has been fantastic. I've learned how to have a routine in my life, though. I don't think I'm going to be that late to work this season. That's what I'm feeling.
I mean, how is this guy the guy who goes, That was for me or Dan to say, not for you. I looked at you guys
Didn't
were
look
maybe
like anything was
Chronicler
ready.
in the comments or something.
Yeah, Chronicler in the comments should probably say that. Yeah, so it's been good, but I just haven't been doing very much sleeping. But that's okay. Sleep is for the weak, as they say.
Yes.
And I would really like to sleep for a week.
You know, Max, I'm going to think of you tonight when I take a long, nice sleep.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate you. All right, let's move on to the first thing on the docket. This is not just us rambling about the things that we have been doing outside of League of Legends. This is about the LCK. Why are you laughing? Look, I was transitioning like so hard into the next.
Yeah, I
topic,
know.
Jacob.
That's why I was quiet. You guys are like
You were giggling.
You guys are in like mid-season form. I feel so out of my depths right now. Warming up.
Warming up. You just came from Hawaii.
Warming up. Yeah, it was easy to warm up there. It's freezing here.
I know. We've been here in the fridge.
Yeah.
And it's probably going to snow today.
Yeah,
See, I was transitioning, and now it's kind of ruined. Okay, but there's been a lot of changes,
Yes.
and this is one of my favorite times for the Pod State, where we get to mainly talk about stuff that we have no idea about, like how teams are going to do with new rosters. And we were optimistic and pessimistic at the beginning of last year, and a lot of us were very wrong. And so let's be very wrong again.
Oh yeah.
And talk about what's changed. So there have been some really big ones and there's been some more subtle ones, but basically every team has changed outside of like
Being KPRX.
being KPRX and Gen G.
Genji, yeah.
And so I think we can probably still assume that Gen G are going to be pretty good.
Oh, bold statement.
I know, it's kind of crazy. But the one change, and I think it's actually kind of big for Gen G, and I think we'll get them out of the way, is Ryu moving in as head coach. And I think that is really, really cool because I liked what he'd done for B&K during last year. What we didn't get was anything out of him during the Casper Cup. That's because they kind of they loitered pretty strong.
This is the one topic I wish Valdez was here for because
he was
Valdez
the
is
Ryu hater.
well, I mean, Valdez and I are a little bit aligned in that some of Ryu's drafting I thought was a bit ambitious at times for his players. But by the end of the season, he ended up having a really strong identity for them, which is why they had a big comeback at the end of the year, which is, I think, why there's been almost feels like revisionist history about Ryu for this past year, where everyone's like, he was the best coach of the year, clearly. I'm like, well, no. but he did solve it at the end. I do think that he's going to have a ton more agency now that he has some of the strongest players that have ever played the game on his roster, and players like Chovy and Keen who don't really have identity, like they can play literally anything, so you can build different styles and drafts around them. And I think he's going to be really good and fearless. So I don't think Coach Kim was an issue, but Coach Kim obviously has had international incidents in the past, and some of the drafting we've seen there.
International
really
incident sounds very foreboding.
Well, I mean, it was, you know,
I didn't.
there were incidents at international events
Yeah,
where
yeah.
there was some weak drafting, and the players underperformed. Maybe Ryu will be the one who, you know, pushes them over the line to get a Worlds trophy if he has a year of working with these players. But I kind of feel like Ryu will have a very different experience with Genji because on B&K, I think they probably didn't really necessarily know what they were going to do, except like, I don't want to play this, I'm not good at playing this, and now he has to work with a team that's like going to push back on it. And when he's like, let's draft this, and Chovy's gonna be like, no, I don't want to do that. And he's going to have to he's going to have to learn how to deal with, like, I don't want to say egos, but players who are literally champions, right, who have done so much and accomplished so much, that will probably push back on his decisions a little bit. So I'm curious to see how that dynamic works, and I think it might be a little bit rocky at the beginning.
Yeah, I think one thing for me for Ryu is there was also that time in 2024 where the team really gained a lot of momentum when there was like Raptor and Duro came into the roster and they started playing like the Vi, Ari, Zeri.
Yep.
It was working really well for them. Like I feel like finding the team's identity and playing that was good. And I feel like Genji, like for me, one of the weaknesses has been draft, right?
Yeah.
Because ultimately it kind of felt like they were getting away with weaker drafts because they were so good, and then it got to a point where like, well, at internationals in these higher state games potentially, you know, when you don't have as much of an edge or players underperform, that's when the weaknesses really get exposed. But I think, you know, a misconception I see so often online is so many people when they think coach equals draft.
Yeah.
And that's all it boils down to. And I think head coach, all you do is draft, and draft is only done by the head coach. And I think there's so much more to the role, and also draft is often so much dictated as well by players. It depends on the roster, honestly, but players often have a big say in draft, not just like, I want to play this, but there's a lot of rosters where like players have more of a say in the draft dynamic than a coach necessarily does. And I do think Ryu is going to come in and expect to have a big say in draft, but like Wolf was saying, you know, players will have opinions as well and will have a lot of say, and navigating that is a whole different dynamic.
Yeah, I think it's like adding the tools, right? Like, so like he's got a certain set of tools that he gets to work with now, and we don't necessarily know what those are, like where the players are being pushing.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's going from Vikla to Chovy, so that's a pretty big upgrade. I think for me, it's the conversation that we had last year of when we look at the makeup of our coaches in the LCK, it's established head coach who wasn't a former player but has been like kind of like that general manager type, and now Ryu, who's a former player, well known, well respected, but also uniquely compared to like Dandy or whatever, has been in an organization for such a long time that I think he's kind of a hybrid. Like, yes, he's the former pro player, but he's not just a former pro player who's now getting an opportunity to coach, kind of like Bendy.
Compare him to Score. Like, Score came into Genji as I'm learning how to be a coach right now.
Right.
And Ryu is like, I've been doing that for a while. So I think that's a really good point.
Okay, so we did have a little bit of a audio issue that we have resolved now, but perhaps things are going to be a little bit rocky to begin with. But what would be the start of the season without a couple of hiccups? That was not a good hiccup.
That was not.
There we go, much better. We can edit that one into the first one because the first one was just terrible. Let's get into T1. Let's talk about T1. We can talk about the swapperoo, where the switch around of 80 carries, as we had Pays moving into T1 and Gumayushi moving over to Humble Life Esports, and finally, getting out of the nest, as it were, having been with T1 for so incredibly long.
And Viper leaving.
Yeah,
and Viper just leaving forever and just gone.
That was the exciting one to me because
Why is that
felt
exciting?
Exciting to you.
the whole offseason was waiting on Viper's decision. Like the whole offseason.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, true.
Like LPL was waiting to make moves. LCS. Yeah, LCS was waiting to make moves.
And Guma's leverage was significantly hindered because of Viper not making a decision as quickly as a lot of other teams made. So he obviously wanted to go to HLE more than anyone else. He wasn't going to take Ruler's spot, right? So it's like, ooh, am I going to end up on like KT, or am I leaving Korea, or is Viper going to leave so I can actually take this spot and completely change my identity and still be on a top team? That must have been like incredibly stressful for Guma. This was a totally different situation this year with Guma leaving leaving T1 and going to HLE than Zeus, like last possible second kind of transfer. And this, it seemed very clearly planned. Everyone has come out and said basically Guma has already made the decision to leave the team before Worlds even concluded. So like, this is a very, very different scenario, but like how he was bold enough to make that decision without even knowing necessarily he had a spot, I think is pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I mean, same thing with Smash behind him, who ended up on a LCK
Yeah.
roster as well. So the fact that it was all hindering on one move and all these dominoes were ready to go, and it felt like everyone had to wait a little bit, was very interesting. Viper leaving itself sucks. This hurts.
Yeah. Although, if that's what he wants, he's already been to the LPL before, so he's obviously going back to an environment that he's aware of. And so maybe he just kind of liked life in China and was just having a good time. So maybe that's what it was. Kind of hoping that it's something like that and not just couldn't find an LCK roster that fit. Doesn't really make sense, though, because he's so good.
Yeah, I think it's...
I mean, there's probably a lot of reasons, right?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of reasons.
And we can be optimistic about it, though, can we not? No?
I mean, clearly as a player who's played in the LPL for a long time, right, been very successful there, and then now choosing to go back, I think clearly part of it is that he enjoyed his time there.
Won an LCK title. Did that in 2024 summer, right, with Hanwha Life. So achieved goals here, but ultimately didn't win Worlds with Hanwha Life Esports. So who knows? But at least knocked that notch off the belt.
Yeah. It is sad to see him go, though.
I think
Again.
that if Guma is going to find a spot, where does Viper go? If Pays doesn't come in, he could have gone to T1, right? And we've been kind of talking about this for a while. If Guma leaves, does Viper go to T1? It's been discussed so much, but ultimately didn't happen.
What about KT Viper?
KT Viper could have also happened, but I don't think KT has the funds required to get
What will
Viper.
give you that idea? It's weird.
This is the thing as well, is that from what I heard, Pays was pretty happy to go for a lower contract for T1. So I think it also worked out. Pays going for T1 because I think the Viper's expensive, right?
Yeah.
Expensive. So I think Pays was happy to go for a lower contract to play on such a prestigious org that's done so successful. So I think that worked out really well for T1. Whereas if they'd gone for Viper, they already have such an expensive roster with Faker, right?
Yeah. I also think that Pays is a really good fit. Let's talk about like the players that are still in the LCK instead of talking about, you know, a BLG player. Who cares about the LPL? You know, this is an LCK podcast. Okay, I'm not salty about Viper leaving again because we've done that before and it hurt last time. So obviously I'm healed now. You know, it's
yes.
just like the scar tissue is just like it's soaking up all the damage and it's fine. I'm totally fine. Everything's fine.
You're fine.
But FaZe, from Wolf and I's experience at the Kesper Cup, looked really, really good on really good.
He was by far, in my opinion, the best individual player of the entire tournament and was the best laning AD carry by a country mile. And obviously has Keria with him, and it's always been a strong lane with Keria in any meta where it's a pushing lane where you're trying to get advantages. I think this has big implications for patch 26, where we're going to be moving into LCK Cup coming up soon, where it seems like bottom lane is incredibly important and the strongest lane right now to
Giving
play through.
FaZe way more money sounds scary.
Yeah, because FaZe was a player, I think, on Gen G who was often considered one of those late game AD carry guys who's a little bit more passive, doesn't make a lot of plays, but the LPL changed him, right? Like he is a mid game two item power spike guy. He's also a Lucian guy. You know, he's the type of player who can showcase a wide variety of playstyles, and if he gets a lead through lane, he translates that onto the map in an incredible way through skirmishes. He just looks like a completely different player. He was always a strong late game AD carry, but now he's got the laning down. Now he's got the skirmishes down. His, you know, fights on, for example, even like Rift Herald and early game fights before he even has his first item completed. Sometimes, like if he's able to rotate over to Grubs, he just knows exactly how to play it. And I was really impressed with him. I was honestly kind of expecting him to be his old Gen G self. I'd seen him in the LPL, and it didn't seem like what I saw in the LPL is what I saw at Kespa Cup. The Kespa Cup looked completely different. He looked insane, and I think he's the player right now I'm most excited for, and why I put T1 very highly coming into this tournament.
The thing that I found like really, really cool about watching T1 with FaZe was how the rest of the team functioned. Like, I felt like he slotted in a way that made no sense. Like, they were so used to sort of like putting Guma on an island in a lot of these compositions. There's a reason why he was so good at like Jhin and Varus, because they were largely like follow-up type AD carries rather than the main character in a lot of the comps that they were putting together, and it was like a lot of agency on the rest of the team. But what T1 were doing, they were playing around FaZe like he was a weapon they were wielding rather than having like someone in the background. So
I feel like
I felt it was really, really
it
cool.
makes sense when you think about what they tried to do earlier last year when they tried to put Smash in, right?
Yeah.
And they were trying to play around him heavily, and obviously didn't fully work out in the LCK Cup. They ended up putting Guma back in, and that was a different style. But like it seems like that style they were trying with Smash, that is the style they are doing with FaZe. So it feels like they're just fitting him into that. I also think like in terms of FaZe's evolution, you know, when we saw him playing with Gen G, he was obviously great, but he was still early days. And I think we always thought like, where could this player be given time? And it's why when, you know, it was understandable that Gen G prioritized getting Ruler back, but it was still kind of sad to see FaZe go so early into that career and us not get to see that trajectory. But it's cool to see him now come back, and he's obviously grown so much in the LPL, and we're now seeing like the evolution because
it's like the hyperbolic JDG time chamber.
Yeah.
That's what they do. Like you just like you put your AD carry there for a bit and then they come back stronger or something.
Yeah, and now he has the opportunity to go up against Ruler here, who he replaced on JDG. But I think for me, what I'm most interested in is to get the opportunity to see Smash on D plus Kia. Like, I want to see how his growth will go. Unfortunately, he's going to be the one leading that bot lane because Career is joining him there. And there were moments where he looked pretty good during LCK Cup as well. Career looked like a rookie. He was making some kind of oopsies and kind of delaying the lead that they had. However, it felt like D Plus had another lane to play through that wasn't just waiting until later on.
Korea did have some like good games though. I feel like he was the classic like rookie in the Kesper Cup, where it was sometimes he'd pop off and other times he'd make horrific mistakes.
Yeah,
like that's just kind of what you get.
He kind of gave us like a budget barrel experience at times. With,
oh yeah, baby!
You think that?
He did. I love that. First barrel is coming in very quickly. This in this pod state, even though he has retired. I love that.
He did really showcase a lot on engaged supports specifically, and showcase that he was not afraid to go in, almost as if the coaching staff had told him like, you're way too passive, I need you to press R on Leona in every team fight. And Sometimes he did that and the rest of the team was not around or wasn't there. He's like, I have this perfect engage angle on the 80 carry, and the rest of the team's like in the fountain. But like, I think he's quite promising. Like, I think he has a lot of potential. He kind of reminds me of like if Moham like actually was able to play engage supports, like where you're like, okay, this player is not known. Nobody really knows who he is outside the people who follow challengers very closely. Play a very brief stint in the spotlight and plays at Kespa Cup, and then it's like, oh, okay, this guy's pretty good enough, I think, for this team. My thing with D+ is because Smash is so good, and Showmaker, by the way, was the best mid laner at
He was
Kespa
playing
Cup.
out of his mind. Early season Showmaker is so good.
Such
man.
a tease.
I'm not
I know.
going to bet it again.
He's like, you just won a
after
world
watching-
championship? I'm just gonna solo kill you in mid lane, figure. I was like, oh my god.
After watching so much D+ over the last few years, where the early part of the year, especially the most recent year, 2025, was very promising, and then it fell off. I'm not going to. I've already done. Chronicle got the Felford Award. I was the guy who was pushing D+ super hard last year. I know there will be shot calling problems, and the rest of the teams kind of synergize with their roster a little bit. But if Showmaker can maintain his form, I think Smash does a lot more for this team and their playstyle than Aiming did, and I feel like it's a huge upgrade for them. And I think it's losing Barrel's shot calling doesn't necessarily matter, because by the end of last year, we weren't really sure if it was a good thing anyways. So it feels like a side grade.
To each their own. I'm waiting for like the Rammus support meta to really kick off and give everyone the I told you so. Okay. I might be waiting a while, but I'm still waiting.
You know,
okay?
if you're too early, you're just wrong.
Shut up, Dan.
Mid-season 4? That was
Yeah. I don't actually have much of a response to that because it's entirely right, and I don't think it was very good. But that's okay. He's my boy, and now he can play as much Genshin Impact as he wants, and it's just beautiful. So we've spoken about Pays and his impact on T1, but now let's talk about something that's a little bit more nebulous, a little bit more up in the air, and that is Guma's impact on Half-Life Esports. It has been cute watching him and Zayas playing together. Like, that's kind of fun, like them sort of reunited on the same team. But Kespa Cup was a bit of a wacky ride for HLE. Let's just say that.
There were so many games with Guma in Kespa Cup where he's popping off. You're like, oh, this is a different Guma. You're like, this looks different. Then you're like, that was Team Japan. That's right. Yeah, like, let's refocus expectations. There were so many games though of Kespa Cup where Guma popped off and had incredible control over the entire game. And you look at how the bracket shakes out and everything, and you're like, wait, did Guma basically just only play against bad teams and then hits like two good teams for the whole tournament, so it's impossible to judge his skill? Yeah, I think that's kind of what happened.
Maybe.
For me, with the eye test, I could see, obviously, when Pays was playing against the weaker teams, it was just the same as Guma, right? And he was popping off, and it looked like, it was tool assisted. That one Ezreal game he played was absolutely insane.
Absurd.
In the eye test, though, if I compare, like, in my brain, like, images of what I saw for both players, Pays just looked much stronger. But, like, it was such a small tournament. Obviously, there were a lot of games played, but for most of the games that Guma and Pays were playing, like, there wasn't a lot of effort required until we got to the end. We got to the finals, and then Pays outclassed him. I don't want to judge Guma too harshly, because in the good games, again, with a lot of asterisks, he looked really good there. But I don't feel like I gained that much data yet. And I think that he and Delight are still figuring things out. And
I think as far as the development cycle for both teams, if you compare T1 and HLE, I feel like T1 was sort of thrown into the furnace far more quickly, right? With the amount of travel that they were doing and the amount of performing that they already needed to do. And HLE were probably a little bit more off-season at that point in time. So maybe there's like some catch-up required for as far as like bottom lane synergy and stuff like that is concerned.
You can go both ways on that, right? Either T1's burnt out or T1's in form. Same thing. Hanwha Life, they're a little bit out of season shape, or they're rested and ready to go. I mean, I don't
horses
know.
for
I
courses.
felt like T1 looked a lot more prepared in the tournament. Like they clearly knew what they wanted to do, and Hanwha Life kind of showed up like, well, these 5 players are pretty good. Let's figure it out.
Also, T1 wasn't done. Like, after Kespa Cup, they went to
Vietnam.
Vietnam for like that massive event. So like I think it's actually, they were in super form. They're like, we're not done yet. We're almost done.
Yeah,
Let's
keep
knock
going, keep
this
going,
out.
keep going.
Yeah. I think it's more of that.
And today is the day of the season opening as well. You guys will have already seen it, but maybe we'll get a little bit more tape as to whether or not T1 have finally got some rest. So if it's not necessarily a great day for T1 today, then maybe we should be positively thinking about that, because that means that perhaps they've been able to see their family or something like that.
I think for me, for HLE, I think obviously losing Viper, sucks, but I think Guma, had a great Worlds, great finals. It's a good replacement you can get. I think Kanavi, good pick up in the jungle. I think when we look at the underperformers on HLE, it was over the course of the year really mid-jungle. And I think Kanavi, other than Will's performance, which was kind of rough in that final series, he domestically was really strong.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good pickup. My big concern, though, for this roster is still the mid lane. I think Zeka's been struggling in Fearless.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to change.
Zeka and Kanavi did look kind of better together.
Well,
maybe.
Didn't Owner not look great during Kespa Cup? I feel like compared to what he was doing before.
As much as it's nice to have some data, I don't know how much I'm going to read into the Kespa Cup.
Kespa Cup is the tournament.
Well,
okay.
I think the
Pros
reason...
won 2024. I mean,
Exactly.
whoever won last year, they had a mountain to climb.
But just to round on my point, I feel like Zeus, especially with the level 20 top lane thing we've had in the new patch, I think that's great for him. Top lane seems super strong with that. Lane swap seemingly out of the picture as well. I think Kanavi was a good pickup. I think Guma Delight, if they can, if they have good synergy together, I think they'll look good. It's just that mid lane. That's the one role that I'm really concerned with still in this roster.
Yeah.
If Zeka can figure out champion pool issues, and again, because that's what's really been tested with Fearless, and he's always been more of that mid lane sort of melee champion with a few mages in the pool. If he can get back into form, then I think HLE, I have a lot more hope, but that's still my concern, I think.
The thing about Kanavi's playstyle too is, and what I've been thinking about a lot over these past few days, is that jungle seems to be one of the roles that didn't really get that, didn't get that much out of the quest system moving into the new patch. Jungle is often a facilitating role that snowballs the game, and so a lot of the impact you're making is before that quest hits anyways. And I don't know if Kanavi's playstyle is necessarily going to really hit or gel with that just yet. But obviously he's got a multifaceted playstyle. He's really creative. He plays new picks before everyone else, so maybe he'll have his own take on the meta, and I'm looking forward to that. I thought he had a great tournament, but it wasn't enough because the tournament was so bottom lane focused. And I felt like Zeka was pretty forgettable for me in the tournament. He didn't have a bad tournament, but it wasn't about him. It was about Zeus, and it was about Guma trying to get stuff done with Delight to me. And so we'll see what happens. I think Hanwha Life to me feels like a pretty clear third team, which is kind of how we've been looking at them a lot of the time, especially last year. But there's a world where maybe they end up getting it together and beating out T1 or beating out Gen G, or maybe even D+ is better than them and beats them out. But I think Hanwha Life Esports need to show a lot more synergy than what we saw in Kespa Cup before. I'm excited for this roster. I think they're a really strong roster. I'm looking forward to all of their games, but I don't think this team has shown me enough right now to where I go, I'm putting them above Gen G.
Yeah, the thing that I was scared about was losing Peanut would lose everything from this team, just because it felt like so much of what made HLE who they are was Peanut and the way that he plays the game. So I think Kanavi sort of fits in that way, but he is still such a coin flip a lot of the time. It was hilarious, reading through the Kespa Cup Reddit threads and stuff like that, where a game one would happen and Kanavi would basically run it down, and everyone's like, yes, here he is, the worst player ever. And then game two, you get a new thread and he's just completely dominated the whole game, and everyone's like, yes, Kanavi in the LCK for the first time. Look at how good he is.
Haters now.
Yeah, exactly. It's so incredibly funny, just how divisive he is as a player, and that is not Peanut. Peanut was too stable a lot of the time.
Well, I will say, because obviously we had Peanut, who was one of his big issues was internationals, struggling there. And then we just had Kanavi, just came off a Worlds so it's they've kept that.
Yeah, sometimes it's good to hold on to your brand, you know, the identity. So I think Kanavi fits.
I was able to watch some of the content, and the Hanwha Life content, and they are gelling well. I think it's like what you said. How much of the essence of the team would you losing a leader like that? And Kanavi, I think when he was selecting his jersey number, said, I wanted to pick something because I'm replacing Peanut. I think Peanut was number 1, so he picked 11.
Yeah.
So it was something like that.
It's
and
an homage, but different.
Yeah.
That's
and
really
so
cool.
he understood the situation that he's going into, and they've they are making a new culture while not having to rebuild from scratch. And so I think they'll be a fun team to watch. Because of Guma, but then sneakily because of Kanavi as well, who's coming in as, with all that experience, obviously on Team Korea as well during Asian Games. So it's not a guy that's coming on in. This is a pretty good caliber replacement that you could be getting.
Yeah, I mean, I also think back to that JDG roster.
They were
the
pretty
run-
good.
The run they had.
Yeah.
They were pretty good.
They were pretty good.
They're pretty good. They're pretty good.
And the MSI run in particular, I feel like Kanavi was just a level above.
Yeah. No,
everyone
he was the
else.
best jungler like in the world that year, I think. Until it depends, there's been a lot of discussion about how important Worlds is as far as judging a player throughout the year, this year or last year. But I think that like that year, Kanavi really was pretty impressive. So I think I'd be happy to give it to him because I do tend to think that play throughout the year is still worthwhile. But that's a can of worms I probably shouldn't have opened. My bad. I'm just going to screw the metaphorical lid back on that one. The lid is back on.
It's going to be a really fun LCK Cup. I'm sure no one will exaggerate the results of the tournament.
Well, no. But the results don't mean anything until the very end of the year, Wolf. Anyway, so it's absolutely fine. No. Let's do a few honorable mentions. We'll go around the table for the rest of the teams. I don't think that we necessarily have too much that we're like. Do we want to talk about Ghost playing as support? Probably not until it's happened. I have no real thoughts about how that one's going to go. Or Polly's just going to be playing.
DN Supers with a name change and also
true.
Pretty solid upgrades. Maybe not going
I was actually
winless
kind
for
of
ages.
interested in what the Dan freaks are going to look, or the Dan Supers, I should
DN
say.
Automotive Supers. That just does not work. As well as the DN Automotive
I'm just gonna say,
Can we just call them the Super Troopers from now on?
I'm down-
and
I'm
just
down
say
to find it.
shenanigans over and over
I think I
again?
literally made this joke like maybe 4 or 5 times when I was casting them. They should rename to the Supers because they renamed Afrika to Soup, right?
Yeah.
But that was a joke. That was not actually supposed to be a real thing.
I feel like obviously Doctam and Peter had like the performances they had, like the fact they made it so deep at Worlds, crazy, right? Yep. So and Closer as well, I think has had some great.
They did take like some of the best of the rest.
Yeah,
players,
100%.
Which is really cool.
My only thing is that they've stuck with Pioshik, right? And I just think back to all of the losses they had, which were on him. Right?
Yeah.
And, we've definitely seen Pioshik have some great moments. He won Worlds, but also everyone here watched last year.
Okay, there were also
he's
those.
got an 11-sided coin, and there's not a lot of
There
heads.
were a lot of games where we were like, oh, get Berserker a team. But by the end of the year, there were, for me, a lot of games where I was like, get Pioshik a team. Like, sometimes he was the best player on the team. Like, there were multiple games where he was the only one making decisions.
That's who he is. He's like sometimes the best player on the team.
I think anything is an upgrade from that last roster, because that last roster was never going to work. I think the players, even towards the midpoint of the year, were like, this isn't going to work. Like, they could never figure out, like, objectives, shot calling, moving around the map at all. Blow it up and start over is kind of like the thing we were all saying, and we were kind of hoping maybe it'd happen a little bit earlier.
They had to soup up their roster. Know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
guys?
It's definitely gonna be better.
Yeah.
I'm just, we'll see. Hopefully,
it can't be worse.
It can't be worse.
It's true.
Well, who are you going to get? Because the new guys into the league, other than Kanavi coming on in, were Willer and Vincenzo.
Vincenzo is really exciting. I actually think that player is really good.
But Willer is going to be starting probably.
I hope he's not.
Remember, Willer, we were like, free Willer. Who's this Raptor guy? And then he was my third team.
Well, maybe Willer just like
disappeared
makes the
into
other
DNK
player
PX.
better by being behind the scenes.
So Vincenzo's going to get better.
Yeah,
it did not
Vincenzo's
seem
gonna
to
be
make
great.
Johan or Arthur better. Monolife Esports, but
Oh, my boy Arthur. That's O's talent right there. All right, so let's get into like just a few things because we do have to move on. Nongshim, how do we feel?
I was
who wants
so
to do it?
excited for Scout coming back to Korea. I was the one. I feel like I should mention this because I was the one who said in Worlds 2023, this guy's the best mid laner at Worlds.
Say you didn't watch enough LPL last year without saying you didn't watch enough LPL last year.
Predicted him for the winning against T1, and that prediction that went down in history, and even the former SK Telecom T1 Wolf player still gets flack for it today, even though he didn't predict that. It was me.
Yeah.
I knew that Scout didn't have the greatest year 2025, but I thought, he's coming back to Korea. He's on a Korean roster. He has incredible mechanics. There were a lot of decision-making errors, I thought, for me in the games I watched of him that I wasn't impressed with. But then he just was kind of mid at LCK Cup. Or sorry, at
he is
Kespa
a
Cup.
mid.
Yeah, I knew someone was going to say it. Thanks, Stan. He just wasn't bad. He had a few games he carried. I think there was this one Talia game you and I cast where it was like an unwinnable game, and he was like, I will carry this game on Talia so hard, and barely got them across the line. But Lehens is not looking great. And Nongshim were, to me, before Kespa Cup, like the most interesting roster when you look at like the whole not like they're going to win, but like there's so many question marks. Like, could this roster be good? Yeah. Taeyun is back. Like, Taeyun had a great year in the LPL. Did not have a great Kespa Cup at all.
On Korean soil is just a different
There's a meme
player.
about Taeyun. You guys know Boo from Mario?
Yeah.
So if you look at Boo, he disappears, right? But if you look away, he appears. Yeah. There's a Korean meme that when Koreans are watching Taeyun, he doesn't do anything. But when Koreans aren't watching Taeyun, he does a lot. It's the Boo meme. If you're looking at Taeyun, he disappears. But if you're not paying attention, people keep telling you Taeyun's doing well. But you don't watch it. You're like, yeah, I heard he's doing really well. I didn't see that, though. He disappeared. We looked at him and he disappeared before our eyes.
Yeah, I was because I was very skeptical of I was one of the people that didn't necessarily think that he was all that good when he was in the LCK. And when he went over and started performing, I was like, maybe I should, like, maybe this is me, you know, I need to put away all of my preconceptions about this player and, you know, just look at that WE Ezreal clip, you know, where he like popped off and like that was really cool. Yeah. And I'll go in with fresh eyes to the Kespa Cup. Never doing that again. I'm just going to go with my gut from now on because like that seems to be the way. It's just wasn't. Really
I just felt like we had to acknowledge Nongshim here.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that like
Teddy's back on Jin-Air, guys. And by Jin-Air I mean Brion, baby. So that's cool.
We're a 3.5 team region again. All right, let's move on.
Hey, I mean, you never know. You never know. We might have some. We might have some impressive ones. We'll just have to see. But let's move forward to what's going to be happening with League of Legends and how that is going to pertain to the LCK, because the Rift is a changing. One more time, we had Noxus at the beginning of last year. We've got Demacia at the beginning of this year. I think that's so cool that we've got like sort of the light and shade represented in the beginning of the year, but also like everything is changed. Arakan's gone. How are we feeling? I'm sad about it. I know a lot of people didn't like it. I liked it. I thought that it was great.
I am super stoked it's gone.
Yeah, I knew you were.
I liked by the end, we knew what an Arakan throw was. And I like that it carved out its own niche in LoL esports history. Like the
I think
Arakan
maybe we
throw
knew,
was the thing.
but maybe not all the teams. Not all the teams.
I'm okay with it being like there for a bit and going. I feel like it's cool having like these temporary things that don't necessarily stick around, and like it makes a year or a season feel significant.
100%.
And then it leaves. You know, it doesn't have to be there forever.
100% agree.
Well, then I think one of the changes that I've seen is impacted a lot is the fact that because Arakan used to show up at 20 minutes and then Baron at 25, now Baron shows up at 20 minutes and now it's like Baron throws are starting to happen again.
And you know who that buffs? T1.
T1, baby. Well, or HLE. Because how much of it was Guma? Because he stole the Barons all the time.
Guma and Zeus?
Exactly. I mean, that like 40% of the team is T1 anyway, you know? I mean, we got. It was absolutely hilarious in Kespa Cup because 100% of the 80 carries were T1 80 carries, like in our top 4.
Yeah, that's true.
Smash, Pays, Guma, and who was the other team that was there?
Smash, Pays, Guma, and Smash. Wait, no.
Double Smash?
Oh, double Smash.
That's it.
Or was it top 3?
Top 3.
Yeah, I was like, you're trolling me.
There's too many. Yeah.
There were 3.
That's a good.
No, Bang was subbing in. Bang was subbing in for one of the teams. I'm pretty sure.
Talking
That's
about the new patch, because I think one of the big things is the role quests. I don't know if you guys have had time to play or scope out the new patch.
I played a lot yesterday.
I played one game of support.
Oh, we gonna talk about it?
Yeah.
Wow. For those who don't know,
For the diligent players of League of Legends, some people play ranked right as soon as the server drops.
yeah. So we have some
Like Dan.
unfortunate news. You know, you'll have known that one of our analysts did very active solo queue player Well, apparently he's fallen off since his pro days. Got placed into gold yesterday.
Yeah,
so
it was kind of weird he mentioned it and tweeted about it as well, because now it's just going to be a joke for the entire year when we did
Yeah.
get some prediction wrong, which is like, well, Gold League analyst, I guess he doesn't know.
Where did you get placed again, Dan?
Don't want to talk about it. No, for those who don't know, there was actually a bug on the Korean server. So Lucid got placed into silver.
Yep.
Aiming got placed into iron.
Yeah.
So early on, people who were queuing up at the start of the day got placed way lower than you'd expect. Like Lucid was
If you sleep in, you get rewarded.
1.7 KLP challenger to silver.
It was like
What a fall
It
off.
was like the server. If you were playing early, it didn't consider last season. It was like a fresh account, and so you
Yeah.
just
Get
just
on the
put you at
grind
the
So
bottom.
the lesson is sleep in.
Yeah.
So
Always sleep in.
Korean solo queue right now, you could be silvers versus masters in your solo queue game. It's pretty.
Well, it's been fixed now. So the MMR's been fixed. So now you'll get matched against people who are the right MMR. But it was a whole thing.
Yeah, but they will be the wrong rank if they were the ones that started too early.
Yeah.
Sorry. So
But
no, I waited.
God bless. On to the role quests. I feel like top lane is insane, and it's going to be even more so in pro because like the level boost and everything. There's been games where, like one top laner is winning over the other. There's a level 17, I don't know, let's say Darius, and I'm as a support or a bot laner, like let's say we're like level 12, level 11, level 10, and there's a level 17 top laner. But you think about in pro play, when supports are even more under-leveled, right?
Yeah.
You'd often have situations where it's like
He
level
would just
17
come up
and
and ult you and you'd be dead.
imagine there's a level 20 top laner and you're like level 8 and you're just like, what?
And I wonder whether that's going to actually change the tier list in the LCK to be more like, because Zeus had a pretty muted year, but I think that also maybe the role wasn't necessarily as impactful as it had been in the past. And like you've got like players like Shiu who we were really excited about, but he's a top laner, so
Also the reward
know?
they get. So either you get your own summoner and the teleport,
Yeah.
or the empowered teleport gives you like a 30%
You're
max
just
health
Shen? Like,
shield when
everyone's
you
just
teleport
Shen?
in. So like top laners feel super strong. to
I
me.
think that there's going to be a lot more drafting to win top lane, because in order to complete the quest faster, you need to win lane or have a lot of assistance so that you can take the plates out. Plates give
Yeah,
you
yeah.
more experience towards your quest completion. So like more Camille's, more Renekton's, more type of I want to win lane. Even range top lane will probably be a thing that comes back from time to time. I think we're going to see a big move away from what was meta for a large majority of this year of just pick Ornn, Scion. I think those champions will still have a place.
I think Scion's still fine.
If you
'cause
get-
Scion, just you can't move him.
But if you get, like, so let's say, for example, if you pick Scion and they put resources to the top lane and the enemy top laner completes his quest faster, you start taking up that experience like right away. Scion can't
true.
complete his quest. You find yourself like 3 levels down, and then you just can't do anything. And the enemy top laner just wrecks you completely, and then starts side laning. And like with the new changes to plates, every turret has plates, and
Yeah.
with the like corrosion the turrets get,
And then you get demolished on top of that.
yeah, you
Oh
just
my God.
two-shot the turret, and you're like, cool, thanks for all the money. I'm winning the game now. 5 people have to deal with this person, then you're winning on the other side of the map. So I think top lane has a specific place where it can be counterpicked a lot harder for a lot more reward now.
Also, so many top laners scale so well with levels. Like Camille's Q2, the percentage of it that's true damage scales with levels, and like Triforce,
Yeah,
obviously
yeah.
the
The
damage
base
on it
damage.
scales with. Yeah, it's crazy. I think bot lane, like the extra gold generate. I mean, bot lane's always like a focal point in pro play. And the extra goal generation, we have so many cracked AD carries.
Yep.
Is obviously going to be a big
And
thing.
if games are going to go long, like I know there's been a lot of talk about games just being a lot faster.
I think that's probably going to be the case.
But if they are, like, if it's just going to still be the LCK and games will go long, like, just having an AD carry with an entire item slot extra is just obscene.
They also get more gold for
Yeah.
takedowns and for kills. So they end up like, even if you're playing an AD carry, someone accidentally steals your kill and you're like annoyed about it, you still get so much more money than you used to with the quest completed. So you just end up kind of exploding through the mid game. And those champs that spike on 2 items, 3 items, like say Zeri, for example, has that new item that also buffs her ultimate to a crazy degree. Like Zeri is suddenly really strong and actually is so much stronger, so much faster than she would be. And if you play through that bottom lane, she gets that level 6 all in, she gets that first item, she gets all that plate gold, then it's like, oh, this is a monster we can't contain. Even our super strong top laner can't deal with this.
Yeah.
I think every team is going to initially start this LCK Cup off by playing through the bottom lane. I think everything's going to be about getting the bottom laners ahead, get that quest completed. Completing the quest is basically just getting a kill, plus all the plates you got from playing through that, probably kills you got if you're winning the lane. You have a CS advantage. Then you get more gold around the map when you get takedowns elsewhere, and you just become this unstoppable threat.
Also, something that I've kind of seen playing support as well is what I think is going to be really different. For like vision control is super important, right? But what's really going to be interesting is we have the Phalites now, where you place the ward down, it spreads the vision. So vision contesting going to be even more important. But also, when you complete the quest, control wards go from 75 gold to 40 gold. And you think about pro play, how much LCK supports were spending on control wards. That's massively reducing
They might have an item.
Well, yeah, and they also
They doubled the gold per 10.
They doubled the gold per 10.
True.
So we're going to see completed items coming in far more for supports in pro play compared to what we had before. And fighting over that vision is going to be a lot more important. Like the Phalites are going to be a massive factor. And like, you know, we already talked about banana brush control, but that has a Phalite in. So that's going to be a massive thing. So I also think there's a lot of items for supports. I mean, there always has been, like redemption was a big thing we always talked about, but there's so many items that are going to be a massive factor. You know, people have talked about there's this Bandle Pipes item on Bard. Like whenever you slow, it gives like AoE attack speed. So it's super easy for him to proc.
Blows, yeah.
So yeah, I think support, that's going to be really interesting. And I think helps out our pro supports who just, we've seen it so many times where it's like, oh, you've bought like 37 control wards. You have
I think
Kindle
I saw
gem.
a tweet about it like only like 3 weeks ago or something like that.
Imagine like Sejuani support with Bandle Pipes.
Well, that's what I'm thinking about. Like weird champs going in different places. Like if levels are so important, you can accelerate. What if you put like Kassadin in the top lane and just like force so much action in the top lane to get the Kassadin rolling, or some weird stuff like that? Just like we saw Anivia start showing up in the top lane a little bit.
So one thing I've seen people talk about, I think it was Vega V2 was talking about, is that mages in the bot lane, because it's easier to hit full build as a mage. So, and you're more likely to get the benefit of having that full build in the bot lane.
Yeah,
and then you could put an AD carry mid, because the upgraded boots in mid lane give 5% lifesteal, which is a really nice pickup. So you could have like an AD carry mid, you have a mage in the bot lane, a lot of mage like Mel, pretty good in the bot lane, Ziggs, stuff like that. Because I think like, the thing is as well with like AD carries is getting that value from the extra slot isn't necessarily going to be a thing unless you get full build. AD carry items tend to be expensive.
Yeah, I think it's more about like I think the extra item is just a luxury for long games, but it's more about like getting the gold increased from the takedowns and stuff like that.
The extra
That's
item
really
slot is
blow
like
it up.
most of the time not even going to be felt, you'd assume.
Yeah, even like the supports get an extra item as well, but like extra item slot because the control wards go into their own spot. But it's like, you know, if you're playing that 40-minute Lux game where you're finally like, yes, I was playing the mage. I should have queued for mid, but I queued for support instead. Like you know, in solo queue, you're gonna have that moment where you're like, aha, I'm
have
a real mage now. But yeah, I don't think it is gonna matter too much. I think jungle is quite unique because jungle is, if you fall behind, you're kind of in big trouble. Like if the enemy team is winning and you can't get your camps, you're not able to complete your quest. Like the smite is buffed as well, so the enemy jungler is ahead of you. It means the other team has probably got prio, and then like you're not winning the game, you can't catch up. Like you just kind of become a champion that does nothing. If you're
and also
super far
smite
behind.
is so much more important now with the way that neutral objectives have changed.
Something I'm going to say, because I talked about how like top strong, bot strong, you know, I talked about these things, and they obviously went into the role quests and said, jungle's really strong, we want to make it weaker. I played a lot of games yesterday. The better jungler won every single game. And I know it's solo queue, but I went through my match history and I was like, better jungler won every single game, right? Jungle's OP. In solo queue at least, everyone knows it. Everyone knows
if it's once again, if we just see Jug King at the top because he slept in, obviously. If Jug King is still at the top, we'll just know that it's just another jungle.
Oh man, it's just that role. It's unbounceable.
One other thing that we haven't talked about is the home guard change, which is incredibly powerful.
Yeah, like the early game.
We have seen some mages, or I have seen watching people play Champions Queue and just streams in general, like people going Ghost on Rise, for example, because he can get back to lanes so fast. Anyways, he can use Ghost even to help that out from time to time instead of teleport, but then it's just incredibly powerful for safety and chase down potential in team fights. And your side laning is so strong as a mage because you get the empowered recall. So you can just basically recall, like Baron recall, after you push super hard. And if you're a safe mid laner as well that has escapes, like you can kind of push forever and they can't really catch you, and you just will always be able to hide somewhere and then escape. and then run back to the other lane that's being pushed without even using teleport necessarily, and still have that combat summoner in your toolkit. So I'm kind of like, every role seems OP. I think everyone's going to play through bottling because I think it's the most benefit for completing the quest as fast as possible, but the game is going to look completely different. And I think games, my hot take prediction for LCK Cup is that games are going to be incredibly snowbally. We're going to see very few comebacks. Games will be over at like sub 20 minutes for top team versus bottom team. Like we might see 18-minute games consistently. I think the game is going to be very fast.
Well, not to mention that one of the big changes we have for LCK Cup is the voice comms. So
Yeah.
I want to see teams stick to an identity in terms of playing the game differently, as you said, and then having the coach to remind you, like, hey, like, this is what we're doing. Like, I know that normally, okay, we take by lane, we're going to shift to mid, and you're going to go down.
Let them have that Baron.
Yeah, like, stick to whatever that game plan is, because that is what LCK Cup is for. It is for experimenting and finding out what works for you. And who knows, maybe it does end up being the ripple effect to the rest of the LoL esports.
And I want to know what the difference is with, because now you've got coaches that, like, one of them has to be by themselves watching the game in real time.
Yes.
Because otherwise they're going to be feeding information that they shouldn't
Yes,
have, right,
that's
to the
the
players.
rules.
So, like, it's going to be a coach in isolation getting purely the view of just the players. And I wonder how that is going to actually change
Stressful.
how the coaches are going to be able to play,
I've
how they can assess. Because they'd be watching with like the bird's eye view, and it's so hard to then turn off the extra information that you have to understand your players' decision making.
I've seen coaches, I think it was at Demacia Cup, where they experimented with this as well, where they have 5 monitors set up and they can see each player's first-person view. I don't know how
Yeah,
the LCK
yeah,
will
that's
work,
really cool.
or if you're just on an observer client with the vision toggled off and you can't touch it. I don't know how it's going to work.
Yeah, that's interesting because I feel like observer client with the vision toggled off is still more information than the
Yeah,
players
yeah,
have.
yeah.
But the 5 points of view for just one coach is so much to take in.
Yeah.
So maybe they would have
There might be a specialized spectator view as well as the 5 perspectives.
maybe they'd have
perhaps? I
like
don't know.
multiple coaches in the isolated, not
Yeah,
having
yeah.
access to the full feed, because I feel like you'd need more than one. If it's 5 points of view, having one person
But like, you
trying to
need
keep
then
track of
so
all
many
that's a
more
lot.
coaches, right? Because you do need coaches that are watching the whole game
Yeah.
to understand, like this is what our opposition was doing. Like there's so many.
Yeah, I think
things.
someone will always be relegated to watching full vision.
Yeah.
Outside of that booth.
I wonder
where
how
the
many
comms
more
are allowed.
people will be watching that one instead of the solo one though. Like that's like the
Because
that
I feel like
division is
it's a completely different role, right? Like learning your mistakes on the broader map with full vision is a completely different role than in-game coaching where you have limited information and trying to make the right shot call. You're like a shot caller who is still a coach, obviously, in that moment to give tips, advice, or sometimes
sounded
direction.
for a second like you said shock collar, and I was like,
Okay,
no, they don't have those.
I want to ask, right? What do you think would be the funniest thing you could say? You could use, like, you come in as a coach. What do you think the funniest thing a coach could do? Obviously, if you're trolling, but what do you think? I feel like imagine like a coach came in, like a player, Mr. Cannon, he just came in -1.
And then you just hang up the call.
You just hang up the call. That's all you do.
Getting the benefit out of the coach comms, baby.
I do think there will probably be some moments where, like, if teams are winning and the game is done and they have extra, coach time they can use, they don't need to, like, there might just be like ceremonies, like legit, like
Yeah,
coach just
maybe.
being like, "Good job, boys, it's done. Like, pack it up."
I hope he gets some.
Keen, you can put your keyboard away now.
I hope he gets some. Like, obviously, they're gonna take it seriously, right? We know they want to win, right? But it'd be funny if we get some absolute bangers.
Yeah, that would be very, very good.
I just realized, because we went through the rosters, we don't have, because what I would do if I was a coach, I'd be like, hey, what are you doing for your ceremony? What K-pop dance are you doing for your ceremony? I thought K-pop dance. Who was our K-pop dance guy? It was Bulldog, who is no longer in the LCK. Sag.
What can you do? We move on. We live and learn. Do you want to do?
Let's see how Potential Man does over there.
All right.
Let's we can now talk about something else that's probably going to get a and that is first selection that is coming in. You can now choose to be on blue or red side, or be first pick or second pick, based on whether or not you are awarded first selection.
And this is a global rule. This is
Yeah.
being implemented across all of LoL esports. So everyone around the world is going to be figuring this one out. And you had a tweet about it earlier, I saw.
Yeah, I have some thoughts. So
I didn't
first,
see your tweet. Tell me what you said.
Yeah.
okay, so my tweet was firstly about double elim finals, because the impact of this change is they're kind of weakening the value of higher seed, because the decoupling
true, yeah.
side selection from draft selection. So if you are the higher seed, you only get effectively one of those. And if we think about double elim finals, what you got was the encompassed. You get to choose essentially both of those, right? You chose blue side, which was both you get first pick and you get blue.
Yeah.
And they've said openly they're trying to like decouple them, see if they can make like, blue side was favored last year. They can make it weaker, right? But we've already talked like extensively about how like in double elim, it feels kind of underwhelming that the team from the winners bracket doesn't get a second life. And I think at this point you weaken it again. That is the place where I think they have to like make a change, because
take away a ban or something. I don't know.
Well,
Or
I mean,
just,
I like
or
like
just
your
play
idea.
double final.
What was your idea?
My
Just go back.
suggestion was you go best of 7 with a 1-0 start.
Yeah, that's been my favorite one out of.
Yeah, because I think
options.
bracket reset, which they do in fighting games, I think is just a bit too extreme.
Takes too long.
A lot
Takes
of
too
extra
long,
time.
an extra day, and also like this strategy. You prepare the strategy to win a best of 5 and show all your cards, to then have to like the next day is such a short turnaround. So I think that concept would work, and it'd give a lot more power to the team from the upper bracket than now, where it's like, oh, because again, I hate the fact that like you can win against a team 3-0, go to finals, lose 2-3, and it's like, well, they're the victors, That
Yeah.
feels frustrating to me. The other point I do have about first selection, I've seen a lot of people say, won't every team just go for the draft and not the side? I think that is probably very true, but I do still think this is pretty interesting to see, like, because we've had them combined for so long and teams have focused on the draft aspect of it. I'm interested to see how much impact the side actually has, and we'll have more data because of this. And even if it is likely going to be a lower impact than the actual draft aspect of it, I still think it's interesting, and it will hopefully, their goal is to make it have like side selection be less impactful, because there was periods throughout like the last years where like blue side was like hugely favored in win rate. And I think if they can lower that in any way,
And also,
it's
like
definitely
getting to see what teams prioritize is actually going to be really interesting. Like, based on like the information that
One
we
of
can
the
get.
biggest things for blue side, I think that a lot of people talk about Baron and Grub spawns and stuff like that, how the Baron pit works to the Dragon pit, which is kind of like one of the ways the sides are balanced, right? Of all time, like it's been discussed forever. But one of the things you can do a lot, and I'm still thinking about this meta in the bottom lane, one thing you could do on blue side that you can't do as easily on red side is invade blue with your bot prio. Red side is a little bit tougher to get in there on red or Krugs and actually make that same sort of impact, because you have to get really deep in. You're in a really risky spot. You can be punished a lot easier. So if you're trying to play through bottom lane, maybe you pick blue side and then you play for counterpick for your top laner as well. Like there's like if they pick first pick against you, for example, then you're like, okay, I'm gonna take blue side, because that's also how it works. I don't think we fully explained this. If the other team picks one, then you get to choose the other. So you could be both blue side and first pick if the other team is like, no, I want red side. So there's different things that could happen. That seems like the least likely scenario right now, but that could happen as well.
All right. I don't know whether there's too much more that we want to touch on. The prize money was removed and is now going to be divvied up just to help the health of the league. Do we have strong thoughts? I don't necessarily have strong thoughts. Don't necessarily really understand how it works anyway, so I'm uninformed, so it's fine.
I think that's like a discussion for another time, probably.
Yeah, we can probably go into that. And First Stand now has 2 teams, so it's kind of fun.
Well, it does mean that an LCK team will lose at first stand. So
For the first time ever.
yeah, guaranteed.
Oh my goodness.
What a shame.
Imagine if it was HLE.
We
Ruining
could
their
also
run.
have the first all LCK first stand finals.
True.
I think
could
we
have
probably will, actually.
that. It could also be a rematch of the Kesper Cup finals as well. Imagine if it was just HLE T1.
That'd be intense.
Genji will exist from now. They haven't been Lloyded, so I need to maybe adjust my
I
thoughts
miss
there.
Lloyd.
Me too. Already. I mean, it was only a couple of months ago, or a week. How many weeks?
It was like 3 weeks
He
ago.
did his best.
Yeah, time's struggling.
He did his best.
Yeah, he did. It reminds me of Poby, but more sad.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe he'll be picked up by Fnatic in 2 years. Like maybe that's just how it goes.
Come on, let's leave the Ghost alone. Now I'm Vitality Navi? I don't remember.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. Let's quickly touch on LCK Cup, because I think we're probably going to have to call it for this episode relatively soon. Coming in, I think that we've all been pretty adamant about the top 3 teams. Are there dark horses, though? outside of Genji, T1, HLE, who we think are very strong.
D plus.
Is it just D+?
Yeah,
Do we
I'm
have
so
to
ready
like,
for
do
D
it?
plus to build up expectations.
Yeah.
And
5-0
smash 'em
start.
down again.
5-0
They'll
start
actually
into
look
don't
really-
know how to play the game.
Yeah,
in
they'll look
playoffs.
great in LCK Cup, won't they? So if this is just predictions for LCK Cup, then like D+, like maybe it's a top 4, actually, you know, because
I could also see KT doing okay. They still have Cuz BDD.
true.
I mean,
And
maybe,
like that was basically all they had last year, and they made runners up. at
maybe
Worlds.
my hot take, like, because we already talked about we think the top 3 teams are the top 3 teams. Like, maybe I expect Pays to run the tournament again. Like, I know that he played in Guma already and smashed him. Ruler and Duro is
smashed. I get it.
yeah. Ruler and Duro is a different beast entirely, but I kind of feel like based on what I saw, even though somewhat of a question mark in terms of current form for Ruler and Duro, that they will just beat them too. I think Pays looks insane. I kind of feel like I'm confident. Like if someone said you have to pick a winner for LCK Cup right now, I would definitely like lock T1 in.
Okay,
Feels the safest to me.
Here's my interesting question. Out of BNK, Brion, DN Supers, DRX, and Nongshim, who do we think is going to be the best? Is it just BNK?
It's BNK.
Okay.
Yeah, because Daystar is listed on the roster. So you can just bench Vikla.
It should be Nongshim, but I don't think it will be.
Have we, Dagon? How much Daystar have you watched?
I've seen enough Vikla.
Yeah, I know. We've all seen enough Vikla, but when you haven't seen enough Daystar, that's a good thing, Dagon.
Okay.
So I don't know.
You know, it's
A
crazy.
little bit
Honestly,
less,
towards
a little
the
bit
end,
less
crazy.
Morgana mid would be nice,
It's
but
crazy. I
I
feel
mean,
like
Vikla looked great on that.
DN Supers could kind of be like the Rise group sleeper, right? You know?
I mean, I'm ready. I'm ready to get there with you. As far as like the Rise group is concerned, I think that there's a lot of fun stuff. You know, there's also the Vincenzo effect that we might get, which I'm pretty hyped about as
You
well.
know what? I've missed Rise group. I'm so ready.
We've got a couple of months before we're getting into there, but oh my goodness, I also cannot wait.
I don't know.
Maybe like you know how like we've got Baron and Elder. Maybe we could like work out which one of those is the Rise team. You know, like we can bring the Rise group to the LCK Cup. Maybe that's the way to do it.
I don't know what to make of this, my bros. You know,
I do.
It's
gonna be.
I've got Gideon Grubbs, who was good early in this season, and then fell off.
Have you thought
Fisher was flipping a coin.
Have you
Teddy
thought-
was like waiting to like 50 minutes to.
Have you
do
thought of
something.
names for them?
I
all
thought you were
yet?
going to say waiting
No,
to
I have
50
not.
to retire.
No.
I
thought you were gonna
I
say
saw
that.
the roster and I was like, I'm just gonna wait.
Maybe that's what we need from the comments is like names for all of them.
Yeah, let us know in the comments the nicknames for the bros, and also if you're a Hanwha Life fan, how much you accepted the new fans that have joined recently, specifically over the last like 2 months.
Oh, that's okay.
Don't-
Can we close another can of worms?
Yeah, okay, it's closed. It's closed. It's closed.
All right,
You got to do what I wanted to do.
Yeah, fair enough.
bro. Outside the support, which is I mean, you get who you can find. It's a role that's not readily available. We didn't talk about what could have happened to Hanwha if Kanavi decided not to come back because that was really
crazy.
interesting. That was the other
Yeah.
thing we didn't touch on, but I think we've talked enough about it. I think Bro on paper, like I feel like on paper there's a lot more potential than what we'll actually see. I think Bro will probably be not great, but there are some good players on this roster, which makes me sad because I'm like, Fisher could have been on a top 5 team. Cassian could have been on a top 5 team. Gideon was on a top 5 team. You know,
Wait,
like
Fisher could.
Who is?
isn't Fisher on this on the roster?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
but like I
he's-
just
he's saying
I
what?
was more just like saying like Fisher though.
On his best day.
All right, there was
Good
that
Fisher
day.
was good. Good Fisher
I
was
did
good.
like
When he
that
played Corgi
Nefiri
and
game. That Nefiri game was dope.
You guys have seen like the potential man memes, right? Who do we think is going to be the most potential man team?
I like basically right now.
Supers.
Alex is making a
It's-
bunch of different shorts, like YouTube shorts right
Yeah,
now within
yeah.
this episode.
It's working.
No, it's the Super Troopers. It's got to be the Super
You
Troopers.
think they're going to be the most potential?
I mean, this could be like they could be good.
No, but it's like you think they're not going to live up to it.
Oh, absolutely not. No.
I don't know.
Okay,
that-
Riot Fist. I guess maybe
Time's up.
maybe it's career. I guess so. Like
Yeah. I think maybe.
maybe.
Yeah.
You know,
might be
Thanks
right
for your input.
Whoa, who?
Potential? Is it Nongshim?
No.
Because Calyx
I thought we were
and
talking about a
Sponge?
player, not a.
No, I feel like the team, like it's a potential man meme, but I think the whole team,
Okay.
like which team do you think there's all that potential, and they're not
Yeah,
going to live
it's
up to
no
it.
shit.
It's
It's
Calyx Sponge Taeun who got the reform. You know that Kingen has been good, and then it's like, well, Lehen's
Scout.
he's one MSI.
Scout.
I mean, the thing is, like, you've got Kingen, known quantity, Lehen's known quantity, Scout, known quantity, and they're all known to be pretty.
Yeah, that's the thing is that I
You
feel
know-
like my estimations are kind of low for Nongshim.
I think the supers, baby.
All
Give me
right.
some more supers.
Let's go with supers.
No, I want them to be no, I want.
What answer do you want?
I don't know.
So
I
maybe-
know what you don't want.
Is it DRX because like Vincenzo's great, guys?
Yeah, this is when Ox is like, you know how there's those memes where it's like, okay, blah blah blah, no wrong answers. It's like, what's the potential team? No right answers.
You know what? Maybe it's gonna be D plus.
It could be D plus. It could be D plus.
I mean, they should. Yeah, I think it's probably
Especially,
that's the safe money, isn't
especially
it?
because of Showmaker and the Casper Cup.
Yep.
Everyone's
so good.
Everyone's feeling good. You know what? They're gonna come in the LCK Cup again, and they're gonna
Yeah.
look great.
Oh, he's gonna play Trinimir mid again, and like
Oh,
Trinimir's
man.
broken as heck right now. So, oh my,
yeah,
that's-
crit on Tryndamere.
Who would have thought changing crit is going to adjust a lot of these champions? Although not Yone and Yasuo, they are just the same. All right, I think that's going to have to wrap it up, gentlemen. I think we've got some LCK opening to do, but of course, this is not it for the Pog State. We'll be back for another episode, and we can break down exactly what has happened over the next couple of weeks. Probably we'll have a week of LCK Cup under our belt and a whole bunch more information as well. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you very, very soon for the LCK opening and LCK Cup and more Pog State. The year is beginning, 2026, and it is absolutely beautiful. Bye-bye.